Welcome to CTV News Your Canada. It's Friday, April 4th. We'll bring you profiles of fascinating Canadians and stories about your community. Thanks for watching.
If you've heard the classic movie line, "We're going to need a bigger boat," well, Alex Fougier of Big Pond, Nova Scotia, almost needs a bigger barn.
About 400.
That's how many old outboard motors the 84-year-old has in his garage. At least one of them dates back to the year the Titanic sank.
The oldest 1912, and the collection goes up to 1958.
Tell me about his outboard motor collection.
You got lots of time?
Fougier's wife says her husband's hobby is something she's learned to put up with over the years.
He's had them in the house, in the bedrooms, everywhere, before he built that garage.
Despite all the clutter, she admits it's quite the collection. Also impressive, she adds, is Alex's knack for getting some of these old motors running again, including one that someone sold him a couple of years ago that was from 1914.
He said it's a wall hanger. Anyways, our son picked it up, and the next day it was here. Someone brought it to him, and that night it wasn't a wall hanger. He got it running.
Fougier says his interest started when he used to fish as a young man and repaired his own outboard motors. He started this collection in about 1970. He adds one of these models was used during the Second World War.
They're called British Seagulls. They were made for the army.
And while he's proud of his collection, he's humble about it too.
I just call it a hobby, that's all.
Oh, and by the way, the upstairs of his barn is home to dozens of old gas tanks. And yes, Fougier plans to repair as many of these as he can as well. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Big Pond, Nova Scotia.
Visiting CTV News Toronto, Lily Farrell is getting ready for her close-up with some help from makeup artist Renee. The 13-year-old looks the picture of good health, but her mom, Kristen Farrell, admits it wasn't always the case.
No one thinks of that when you have a baby, that to think about life expectancy, you just think of life. And so this was a different experience for us.
Lily's parents were both born with the cystic fibrosis gene. As a baby, she tested positive for the disease, which affects the lungs, digestive tract, and other organs. After years of illness, a breakthrough for a disease for which there is no known cure.
Pretty good. Trikafta has made it like a lot better. So Trikafta is the medicine that scientists came up with to it doesn't cure CF, but it also doesn't not cure it. It's a miracle.
Last year, Lily qualified to be a recipient of Make-A-Wish Canada, an organization which creates life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses.
I've always been obsessed with trains since I was a little kid.
Parents are not involved in the child's wish-making decision.
I'm not going to lie, I was completely surprised. I did not know what she was going to wish. I did not know what she was thinking, but she'd seen a YouTube video about the Canadian and the trip across Canada on Via.
The trip, her choice, traveling 4,411 kilometers by train from Toronto to Vancouver.
Every little hill that we passed on the way to BC in Alberta, I was just like, is that a mountain? And Mom was like, no, you'll know a mountain when you see it. And I definitely indeed knew a mountain.
It took 97 hours or 4 days and gave Lily, her mother, and grandparents the trip of a lifetime.
I thought it was great before, but now I'm just like, it's confirmed. Canada's awesome.
Something Kristen never knew she needed.
I order all their medications, I keep track of all of her appointments. There's a lot of effort that goes in that you don't really see when you have a chronic illness and you're managing a chronic illness. So to have a trip that really, I didn't have to do anything. I just got to show up and enjoy and just be a family. And that was really, really special part. So we're so grateful to Make-A-Wish.
And a lesson no child should ever have to learn.
I didn't know it was really hard for them, because they thought I was gonna die, right? But I didn't.
The median age for someone diagnosed with CF is 54 years. Now the Farrell family is looking beyond that.
We went from having 1 to 2 hospitalizations a year to now being 3 years with nothing, which is incredible. I used to hold back vacation days because I wasn't sure if she'd be in the hospital. And of course I work, so I'd have to hold those back. And this last summer was the first summer I've used all my vacation.
Make-A-Wish Canada is celebrating 40,000 wishes granted since 1983. They want to do so much more because there's 3,700 people waiting for their wish to be granted. It's looking for donations, volunteers, and fundraising. Andrea Case, CTV News.
These grade 7 students struggled in public school, but say here it's a much different story.
I'm a visual learner, and this helps way more. My grades are all the way up to the sky.
Centennial Academy is a private school for students with learning difficulties, including ADHD and dyslexia. For decades, it's developed learning models that don't exist in public schools. Barbara Whiston's son struggled in the public system.
I could see teachers giving up on him, and I could see the impact that that was having on his beautiful, creative little soul.
Today, she says he's thriving, but she and other parents are worried about the school's future as it deals with a debt of roughly $9 million.
Right now, we have a financial situation. At this point in time, we cannot assure next year.
The school blames a run of bad luck. After losing its old location, it moved to this heritage building downtown in 2020. The renovations needed were extensive, and the school's director says there were unforeseeable cost overruns and fundraising fell short.
Raising funds during COVID was difficult, so we didn't meet our criteria that we had hoped for that situation.
Tuition here is $23,000 per year, and the school receives government funding, roughly $6,000 per student for its English sector. But its French sector, which makes up half the student body, doesn't get funding for those students because it started after the government's freeze on funding for new private schools. MNA Jennifer Macaron plans to file a petition at the National Assembly.
I think that the government needs to look at private schools that are catering to students with special needs that are succeeding and wonder if that's a model that we should be reproducing as a pilot project elsewhere.
We reached out to the Education Ministry but did not hear back by our deadline. The school has applied for emergency funding and to become a special status school. Centennial has an 80% success rate, with many students like Priscilla and Katya heading to CEGEP.
I'm way more confident as a student, and I'm ready for CEGEP.
The school is hoping to be able to fundraise and attract investors in order to retire the debt. But if they can't and the school is forced to close, it may be too late to find another private school for next year.
Honestly, I can't even go there. There is no alternative. There is no other place I can send him.
She says none come close to Centennial. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
He's been playing the sport for 10 years, and Troy Clemmer is teaching some Bowness High School students what it's like to be in a sled on the ice. He's passionate about the team sport that allows him to compete at a high level.
Yeah, so obviously being born with cerebral palsy, wasn't diagnosed till I was 1 year old, right? So this allows me to, find a sport that I can actually enjoy, right? Instead of just, sitting at home doing nothing.
The students are part of the school's high-performance athlete development program.
Essentially what it is they give us the opportunity to try a multitude of different sports and learn how that can apply to our own individual sports, because everyone here we're all athletes. So we get to learn new skills and apply it to our own sports out of school.
The athletes teaching the students here are getting ready for the 19th annual Matt Cook Western Canadian Sledge Hockey Tournament. Aaron Halbert says the event is a chance for Calgarians to learn more about the sport.
I think it gives everybody a different level of appreciation for the sport. You can watch it and it's like, oh, that's physical, oh, it's somewhat quicker than I thought, but then you get in a sled and you're like, wow, how do these people even move? It's definitely humbles some people out there, but it's fun to see people try it and just enjoy the sport on a different level.
Christian Cook grew up playing hockey as a goalie, but after he almost lost his leg in a quad accident a few years ago, needed to find a new sport.
I never watched a sport ever before I started. I would see it on TSN and I'd flip through it. It just wasn't for me, right? But as soon as it was for me, it's now like a big part of my life.
Cook and the other players are hopeful that Calgarians will come out and cheer for their home teams this weekend. Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
The Downtown Business Association hopes a high-profile new business will draw more people to the core. CTV got a look this afternoon at the progress being made at Bar Trove. Lauren Kyle McDavid is creating an office, furniture showroom, and bar in the historic Canada Permanent Building. Kyle McDavid says she's excited to be a part of the revitalization happening downtown.
This building has such a rich history. It's from 1910. There's a really big backstory on it, and we wanted to revitalize it and bring something new and fresh into downtown.
To have a big celebrity name opening a business downtown and making that kind of an investment is huge. Like what it does for our city's reputation, what it does to expand on the success we're already having, the national and international attention that it brings to our downtown is so exciting.
While there's no official opening date yet, Kyle McDavid says the plan is to open in mid-May. Rapid Fire Theatre is ready for its 2025 Bonfire Festival of improv, sketch comedy, and experimental theatre. 3 days on stage in Old Strathcona featuring shows with names like Poetry, Sports, and Nonsense and Sensibility. Organizers enjoy the unpredictability of the performances that evolve from one Bonfire Festival to the next.
I think one of my favorite things about the Bonfire Festival is because it's experimental, some things are fantastic and some things are never done again. Sometimes we'll do this format just once and then that will be it. And other times we'll have a format that is then going on for years.
The Bonfire Festival starts tonight and runs through Saturday at the Rapid Fire Theatre.
Charlie Angus's Elbows Up tour drew out a large crowd in Sudbury, giving him a standing ovation as he went to deliver his speech. The retired NDP Member of Parliament has been touring the country for nearly a month to host the rallies in response to Trump-imposed tariffs.
We're ready. We're ready. We're ready to fight. We're ready to elbows up. So move out of the way because here we are.
We need to respond to the threat that's coming across the border, and we need to stick together. And I'm here to do that.
I think it's important for all Canadians to get involved and stand up for our sovereignty, especially with what's happening globally.
I've been feeling a lot of angst in the last month or so because of what's happening, and I feel he's the voice of reasoning. I feel what he's going to say will help reduce the angst and maybe answer some of the questions that I might have.
Angus did not mince his words when it came to speaking about U.S. President Donald Trump.
We have a narcissistic criminal predator who was elected in Washington, threatening our country, telling us we don't have a right to exist, saying he's going to bring us to our knees economically, and that ain't going to happen.
He said Sudbury was the ideal location to host a rally on April 2nd, otherwise what Trump referred to as Liberation Day.
This is a community that has survived hard times. This is a community that has shown the way of resistance through all the incredible labor battles through the years that I've interviewed the old timers. I've met so many people who've been on the front lines of defending their jobs, defending their communities, defending their way of life, and that's what we will do as a nation.
Angus has stops planned for his Elbows Up tour over the next 2 weeks. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
How busy is it today?
From Ottawa's top doctor to CHEO's new boss.
I'm very happy to be part of Team CHEO. It's been so inspiring.
Dr. Vera Etch is marking 1 month since becoming president and CEO of the region's children's hospital.
We're certainly trying to convey the importance.
And already a list of priorities to take on.
For me, the top one is the experience through the emergency department. That does mean it's the flow. It's from before emergency, through emergency, and how people can get out of the hospital in a smooth way with good discharge support.
CHEO's ER at times over capacity. She says part of the challenge, some families have nowhere else to turn.
In the meantime, we have created the Kids Come First Clinic, which is here on site. When people don't have a family doctor, they're able to get that care as an alternative to the emerge.
And as the city's population grows, so does the need at CHEO.
So really important work to be done to look at the space we have and to grow our space. That's another priority. Good morning. Hi, good morning.
Etch is the city's former medical officer of health, making a transition early March to a warm welcome. Taking over for Alex Munter, who served in the role for 13 years.
I greatly admire Alex and the direction he's helped CHEO go in towards more of a health system for children and youth. I mean, that is key. We need to keep going in that direction.
Her role to oversee all aspects of CHEO's operations, including patient care, innovation, and advocacy.
We want to continue to go on the pathway where everyone will be able to access excellent care. World-class care when they need it.
One of her next tasks, CHEO's future treatment center development, A new 6-story building set to open in 2028.
It's going to bring together mental health and neurodevelopmental health and autism kind of streams of treatment. The building's a space, but what it's going to do also is really change how we think about that care.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
He's the anchor of Team Canada.
Run it back. Look out. Here we go.
And at this year's World Men's Curling Championships, Brad Jacobs is on a roll.
We're so spoiled seeing those numbers. People don't realize how hard that is. They're brilliant. Right now, they are playing at a level that people can go and throw their whole lives and never get there once.
Through 9 games, Jacobs is the best of all fourths, shooting 92%, 5 points better than the next best at his position. The last player to shoot this well at a Worlds, Brad Gushue in 2017. That's also the last time Canada won a world championship.
In both of the Brad cases, they just found just that clarity of thinking, that they knew what the right shot was and what the ice was. It's just wonderful to watch as an observer when you see a team that's that good.
Now, comparing Gushue's run 8 years ago to Jacobs this year, the two Brads equal, both shooting 92%. Team Jacobs' second, Brett Gallant, was on that 2017 World Championship team.
It's a lot of fun to be on the team when the skip's feeling that good. A confident skip is a pretty dangerous skip.
It just filters down the lineup. Everybody feels super confident. We have all the belief in the world in him, and that allows us to just focus on making our shots.
I like going here.
Yeah, with this turn? This is the shot.
Even more remarkable to Gauthier is Team Jacobs has only been together less than a year, but have built an outstanding chemistry leading to their success.
We're seeing here why this team was put together. They're technically the same. They are on the same mental page, but the chemistry, you can't manufacture that.
There's no ego when it comes to making the right call. It's just making sure that we don't make a mistake. We talk things through.
And above the all-star level of play, Jacobs' consistency is just as high. In his last 22 games, just 3 times has Jacobs shot worse than 88% as the Canadian skip eyes his first world title.
Bang, bang.
Donovan, CTV News, Moose Jaw.
A major part of Saskatoon's $1.2 billion event and entertainment district is on pause. A key report going to City Council will be put off for up to 6 months as political and economic uncertainty become impossible to ignore.
This is a major business decision for the city, so a pause allows us to provide additional time to monitor and reassess the economic and political environment.
Last summer, city administration announced a 25-year deal with arena operator Oakview Group, which is expected to generate roughly $170 million in that span. Negotiations were difficult at times after the group failed to show up to a city council meeting to answer questions, but a deal was eventually struck last December, right before repeated tariff threats and federal election calls.
When uncertainty goes up, you tend to see people sort of stepping back and hitting pause, and it's a very rational, reasonable response.
Child says anyone relying on government revenues is likely looking to take a step back, and he expects Saskatchewan to be hit harder by Chinese tariffs on canola and peas.
For Saskatchewan, that tariff probably looms larger in some decision making and the potential revenues we're likely to see. That said, delaying 6 months is sort of a wait and see tactic, right?
Another complication in bringing the deal to council is the province's direction to prioritize Canadian vendors and contractors in response to American tariffs. Oakview Group is an American company, but Willem says you can't turn on your computer without supporting America, let alone rebuilding a part of your city.
There's only so much you can do to cut back on sourcing American products. For example, Microsoft's embedded in just about every corporation around the world, right? So there's just limited other opportunities.
So staff will wait and see until after the federal election, with everything from partnerships to project costs up in the air. Keenan Sorakan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
For decades, Kerr Farms has relied on the U.S. market to sell the bulk of its organic asparagus. But this year, they say growing trade tensions between Canada and the United States are making them nervous.
Every year we like to go in with lots of optimism. This year we're feeling
a bit of concern with the potential tariff impacts on certainly on all of our produce that goes to the U.S., in particular our asparagus.
The U.S. is Kerr Farm's biggest customer.
90% of our sales is to the U.S. in our asparagus.
But if new tariffs or trade restrictions are imposed, they say selling across the border could become difficult. It's forcing them to rethink their operations, including how they manage seasonal labor.
There is already an impact going to be felt because I still am sitting on last year's inventory that is intended to go there.
While other produce is grown here, asparagus takes 3 years to grow into production.
This on-again, off-again tariff type setup just isn't consistent with business.
Experts say trade disputes can have a ripple effect on agricultural producers, many of whom depend on international markets. And while it remains unclear how tariffs will unfold, farmers say they need answers soon before it's too late for this year's crop.
We like consistency, we like reliability. Our farms are big businesses across much of Ontario, and rely on some of that stability for things like financing and long-term planning.
For now, Kerr Farms is hoping the U.S. remains a viable market for them, but they are holding off on planting any new asparagus and considering reducing acreage.
If there's no margin in it, or if it's just a break-even proposition, there's so much labor, so much risk, so much time involved that to me it's not worth the effort to just break even.
Meantime, they say they're still looking to supply the local market with organic asparagus.
If the winds change and they change the plan, great, it might benefit us. But at the moment, right now, it doesn't look very positive.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
Dust off those toe-tapping shoes. The annual Dancing with the Easter Seal Stars is returning to Barrie. Some well-known members of our community have been training with local dance professionals in Ontario for weeks now, ready to hit the floor in front of a sold-out crowd. The star-studded night brings people together for the fundraiser that's crucial to this charity.
This night, we're hoping to raise $125,000 for CHEO kids. What this event does, it brings local celebrities in the community and their families and friends to Liberty North to see them dance. But it also teaches a lot of people that didn't know about CHEO kids before until tomorrow night.
I always say that you have to give back to those less fortunate than you, and these children need the funds and the resources that we're going to provide in order that they can attend camp and feel that they're part of society just like the rest of us are.
The doors open around 5, competition getting away a few hours after that, and I will be down there as one of the lucky judges for the event, so it should be a lot of fun.
A few years after Marie and Derek got married, they bought a house and planted a tree.
So over the years, of course, the tree grew and grew and grew.
Although their love blossomed, the cherry tree never bore fruit until the couple were advised to prune it way back every few years.
The last time I did it, it did great. We got a ton of fruit.
But this is a story about the time Marie pruned it after that.
It was quite the shock, I must admit, quite the shock.
I really cut it. To say the least, Derek wasn't overly impressed.
And Derek started expressing his disappointment daily.
Oh, he'd just shake his head and go, oh, you've killed it.
We all know what stick people are. That's exactly what it looked like to me, a stick person.
And not raising its stick arm in a welcoming wave sort of stick person. So Marie went searching for a solution. And while considering her passion for pups,
because they don't talk back,
felt compelled to craft a canine costume for the stick person tree.
And sure enough, I put it up, and he never said another word about it.
And now, rather than criticizing Marie's cutting, and after this first face was temporarily lost in a windstorm and their daughter donated another, Derek is offering kudos for his wife's creativity, if not occasionally taking credit.
People that walk by in the street say, oh, I love your tree. I'm going, thank you.
Because after being married for 40 years, Marie and Derek agree the secret to overcoming life's inevitable ups and prune way downs is to live in the moment.
You accept it as it is.
And find a way to fill the moment with amusement.
Smiling, laughing, goofing around.
There's a bloom here.
And you just might find that even if these tiny pink buds become big cherry-growing branches, you'll both still affectionately call it your dogwood tree.
I think it looks better.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Saanich.